What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Talkin' Pop podcast. And guys, we are here for a full-blown spoiler review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Guys, this movie has taken the world by storm, exploding into theaters with a massive $450 million global box office. Just massive, an incredible opening weekend for this movie.
And unexpected, kind of, I would say, for a sequel of a character that I would say most would say is kind of like their high B list.
We're going to talk about this later. I want to put a pin in that because I feel like Doctor Strange, Marvel is positioning him as the new sort of Tony Stark of the MCU.
Yeah, very much.
Like
very
sort of
much.
The OG, if you will. Yeah. But I want to talk about this box office performance because this adds further credence to a topic that we've discussed on this podcast many times. All of these esteemed directors can bitch about it as much as they want, but the MCU continues to be the measuring stick when it comes to getting people to leave their home to go to the movie theater. It just, it cannot be argued at this point. It can't.
No, it can't. And even Elizabeth Olsen commented on this in the press junket and just kind of said, you know, to make comments like that at this point, not only to your point, Rob, is it silly because of just the money it's bringing into the movie theaters, but also it's like there are a lot of really talented, amazing people who work on these movies and do special effects and do all these different things. So yeah, I just don't have time for the sore losers.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. It's just coming off as sour grapes at this point. I understand to some degree because it's, you know, if that's not the genre that you choose to make movies in, and you're now, for the first time, as some of these bigger directors having to almost take like a little bit of a step back and letting the new kids on the block take the forefront, it's hard. It's hard. And you see that in lots of different, you know, professions. You see it in like professional sports where like the new hot player comes in and the old dog is looking grumpy on the bench. It makes sense, but it's still just like, okay, guys.
Yeah, it's lame.
It's kind of lame. You might as well just be happy for the fact that the theater industry hasn't collapsed because it was not good for a little bit there, and they've really kind of pushed the movie theater forward and that movie theater going experience and that collective, you know, experience of seeing something that is an event. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Before we get into like discussing the actual film, I want to just talk about the elephant in the room here. Like, we all, this is probably the first time that we've done a movie recap where the three of us like haven't really talked about it at all.
We're getting better at being very actively like, save it for the podcast. Save it for the podcast.
This is a very fun movie that had very fun moments and great like characters and actors in it. But this movie is a great example of internet speculation and rumors getting completely out of control. And as I said earlier, there's a lot of really fun, great moments in here.
Yeah.
But a key takeaway for me is let's not count our chickens before they hatch. And we talked about this a lot, about some of the insane speculation with respect to cameos here. And it's just, I've learned my lesson because this really started with No Way Home and all the speculation there. And for the most part, a lot of those rumors like came to fruition.
Yeah.
And so with this, you're like, oh my God, it's going to be like No Way Home, all these crazy cameos. And that there were some great cameos and great appearances in this movie, but it got completely out of hand is the point I'm trying to make here.
Well, I think the clear barometer for this sort of thing was, I don't remember which episode of Talkin' Pop it was, but we were ready to burn down Disney Studios if Tom Cruise wasn't in there playing an alternate universe Tony Stark. And I gotta be honest, I know, I'm like, oh shit. So I don't know. I was still very hopeful, and when it never happened, I was like, oh shit.
Remove foot from mouth.
Oh, very foot and mouth. But like, to be fair, nobody at Disney was like really squashing it, which is makes sense for them. Anything helps. Any sort of rumor mill helps at that point. Any news is good news for them. But I don't know. Yeah, there was so much overhype. I think for a lot of things, that alone kind of knocked it down a peg for me. Not to take away anything from the overall movie, and we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, that was a bit of a blow. Not seeing Tommy C on the big screen wearing an Iron Man suit, that was a blow.
Actually, it was funny as my fiance and I were coming home from the movie theater last night. We were talking about how that, you know, there were great cameos and then there were cameos that just didn't happen. And we were wondering if, and you know, only the powers that be at Marvel will ever know the truth, really. But like, we either, you know, if some of these rumors are either being planted or potentially just completely like letting them run rampant and not doing anything to squash them, because at this point it's almost table stakes that there's going to be multiple Marvel characters in each of these movies, especially for the larger characters. And so you're almost better to let rumors fly so that you're throwing people off the scent of what actually happens, because we'll get into it, but I had a jaw drop. Like I sat there like we had one of our reveals. So they got me for sure.
All right.
Well, let's get into it. So right off the bat in this film, we're introduced to America Chavez, played by Xochitl Gomez. And we learn that this is a character who has the ability to open holes in reality and travel throughout the multiverse. And like those abilities are essentially the main focal point of this film. What did we think of Xochitl Gomez? I thought she was great. You guys know that I mean, she's not a child, but she's
skewing young.
She's on the like tween category, or teen,
she's like
or whatever.
A teenager, yeah. So like when I was seeing, I was like,
also,
oh my god,
annoying. Yeah,
it's like we're gonna have a child is gonna be the focal point in this movie, but I thought she was really good and played the role of sort of a companion to Doctor Strange very well. She's essentially his like sidekick in this movie.
His ward.
Yes.
Yeah, and yes, I thought her performance was good. I didn't find her to be overly annoying, as sometimes these side characters can sometimes be. And I also thought, I'm not sure if they actually, I don't think they ever shot it, but I'm pretty sure in the original script and concept art and all that she was supposed to make an appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home.
She was.
And as I watched this movie, I thought, I'm really happy they didn't do that. And not because of anything to do with the actress or the story. I just thought this movie was a better place to introduce her, and she was much more integral to the story, and it just flowed a lot better. So, a welcome addition to the MCU and a young Avenger, I'm sure.
They're clearly setting up young Avengers.
Yes, but did we ever get an actual reason as to why they didn't do it in Spider-Man No Way Home?
I think they just said it was like a little overstuffed.
Yes,
and that they were just thinking it was kind of taking away from the main, driving the main story forward. I mean, you have so many cameos in that movie. Speaking of cameos, and like. I you know what, when I think about it, like I don't think she would have added anything to it other than to say, oh, here's another character we have to kind of figure out.
Yeah. The real reason why I'm asking is not because she did a bad job in any facet, but I did find when she was first, because she was in the movie like that. Like she was
hit the ground running.
Running with her.
They quite literally hit the ground running.
But they the thing oh, wow. But the thing was for me that it did feel a little, the pacing seemed a little off to me at first. And I don't really like that in movies when you're just supposed to kind of already know, especially when it is a brand new character and they were just running around.
Oh, dude.
Like I didn't.
This movie, we're gonna talk about this. This movie is very fun and has lots of fun moments, but this movie is all over the place.
Yeah, it suffers from pacing issues, and that's why I am actually wondering if that moment of her reveal running with Doctor Strange, albeit a different universe,
Defender Strange,
excuse me. The
Ponytail Strange.
Yes, the fact that they were just kind of, the movie starts and they're just running together Didn't like that. I think it took me a little bit longer to kind of get on board with her character. Because then even when she lands in New York with our Doctor Strange and everything else, it's just like a battle is ensuing and all this chaos. And it's like, all right, I don't really know if I'm liking this so far. But then as it continued, the pacing, and like I said, it's not her fault. The pacing kind of starts to get a little bit more fleshed out and a little calms itself for long enough for you to kind of get on board with her character. But no, I didn't like the way it started with her.
So as you mentioned, she and Defender Strange are running from a demon trying to get the Book of Vishanti to kill said demon. And she opens up a star portal, which brings her to Earth 616 and meets our Doctor Strange and Wong, who rescue her from this rather silly looking one-eyed octopus monster through New York.
Still look better than the crocodile. And I kept thinking it the whole time. I was like, as silly as this looks, in a way, like the detail of it was so good. Like the quality of the CG was very tight.
What has New York been through in Earth 616?
That was my exact thought.
I gotta move. I gotta move.
You gotta pick it up. And
I'm in danger at all time.
Brad, you're good. You don't live in 616, clearly.
Oh, you're right. I must. Yes. I don't know which one I live in, but the insurance rates in that New York City must be through the roof. I don't know what they're doing there.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, running from this one-eyed octopus monster, she is then rescued by Strange and Wong. Wong is still the Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah. Can we just take a minute, and I alluded to this earlier, Kelly, can we just take a minute and talk about Benedict Cumberbatch? God damn, does he look good as the Sorcerer Supreme, or excuse me, Wong's the Sorcerer Supreme, the master of the mystic arts.
Yes.
And as I said earlier, he's sort of become the Phase 4 version of Tony Stark in a way, like sort of the OG Avenger. He's fantastic. Like when he is at Christine's wedding and he jumps off the balcony and then flicks around and he gets the outfit on and starts like flying through the thing after the monster. It's like, God damn, this guy looks good. He looks so good.
And he also just looks like like when you go back and you look at pretty much any version, it doesn't matter which artist has done their version of Doctor Strange. He looks like that. He looks like Doctor Strange, which is so important because I remember when they were talking about certain other actors, they were talking about casting. Yeah. And then they brought up Benedict Cumberbatch. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, he's a great actor, but it was like, oh, but then you actually see him and he's just like, that's the guy.
He looks fantastic.
That's the guy.
And I think, and I'm sure we will talk about this throughout, but I think having Sam Raimi behind the wheel on this, so to speak, did a lot for him actually, and did a lot for like that entrance that you refer to, Rob, which was one of my favorite moments in the movie, which I know was a 2-second throwaway moment, but that was so Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
And it just brought, and like that's what Marvel is, right? It's like good.
We need those heroic moments.
We need the heroic moments and a little bit of humor, and I thought that was balanced all really well. And then we can talk all day about Benedict Cumberbatch because not only does he play our Doctor Strange very well, but he has a lot to do in this movie in terms of other versions.
Reshoots. This makes sense now.
So obviously, as I said, they save America and they learn about America's ability. And this leads Doctor Strange to seek out the help of Wanda Maximoff, who turns heel right away in this movie.
Right away. Yeah.
It sort of occurred to me. I wonder how much of the GA actually watches the shows, because if you didn't watch WandaVision, you have no idea why she's isolated herself, who Billy and Tommy are, how she became the Scarlet Witch, why she has the Darkhold. Like, if you didn't watch that show and you're somebody who's like, oh, we're going to the latest Marvel movie, like the last time you saw her was in Endgame.
It's not landing in the way it should. Yeah.
And you're kind of like, what is this? But if you did watch the show, you know exactly why she's there, who Billy and Tommy are, how she became the Scarlet Witch, and so on and so forth. Do we think that, like, what do you guys think? Like, do you think the vast majority of people who go in, because like it made $450 million at the global box office. Not all those people watched WandaVision on Disney Plus. So I wonder how that lands for some people.
I think they did a great job of they did enough like deconstruction of what was actually going on in the dialogue. And I think it was purposely done because it crossed my mind. So I'm glad you brought it up is like, if you didn't watch the show, what do you think of this? Mm-hmm. And I think I actually think they did a good job when I was reflecting on like the dialogue and how they were talking about it. I don't think it made a big impact at all, or like it made a big impact to not seeing the show. I think you could actually just kind of go, okay, and just say and just take it for what it is.
And I thought it was really clever how she just sort of was like, why don't you bring America here? And then right away you're like, he never told her her name.
Yeah.
And then she's like, you never told me her name. And he's like, no, I didn't. And then the heel turn is complete
immediately.
And it's just boom. Yeah.
Do you know what would be a really interesting number to see would be how many people watch WandaVision this week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like how many people... I bet
their numbers go up.
Like how many people go, I want to go back and see what happened. Because I do think there was, to Brad's point, there's enough there in the movies.
Yeah.
Not the Billy and Tommy stuff, but there's enough there in the movies to justify why she's gone a little nuts. Like she's watched her brother die. She, blew up a building in Sokovia. She she had to personally kill her lover, love of her life.
Yep.
And then watch him die again immediately. Like there's enough there to justify why she's gone a little crazy. Watching WandaVision obviously massively helps. It just contextualizes it that much more. But there's part of me that thinks, I wonder if they're going to lose people because they're going to feel like they have to watch everything. Or there's part of me that thinks this is kind of genius because you're forcing people into, if you want to stay in the zeitgeist and the cultural conversation, you've got to get on Disney Plus.
Yeah, you got to watch these shows.
So
great point.
Yeah.
So she basically like demands that Strange turn over America Chavez and says that if he doesn't, she will kill Strange and all the other wizards and destroy Camertage. And it will be the Scarlet Witch who does so. Okay, can I just come clean? I'm in love with Elizabeth Olsen. She is... Oh God, I love her. She's great. I love Elizabeth Olsen. Man, she's fantastic.
It was nice watching her get more to do.
I was just gonna say, that was my, not to over analyze it as a whole yet, but as a whole, the big takeaway I took from the movie was Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
She was so good in this.
Yes.
She was excellent in all her moments, because like what we just said about Benedict Cumberbatch and having to play these different versions of himself or what have you, she was doing a lot of that legwork as well. There was like the alternate universes of her. There was, her trapped in her own mind in that moment. We won't talk about that yet, but there was like these and those moments with the real like dark, like almost Carrie, like the horror movie Carrie moment where she's got the blood on her face or the oil, whatever.
So Brad, my next point was the invasion of Camertage is where we start to see the Sam Raimi horror elements show up in this movie.
One of the best parts of the movie was that.
Yes.
And also I just wanted to like quickly on that point, like we just finished watching Moon Knight. And like, I know it's a show and I know it's on Disney Plus, but we were somewhat promised like in like the marketing and the discussion leading up to that we were going to get this dark, gritty.
I thought the same thing.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, that was like
so much more what we wanted.
Like a little Sesame Street compared to what we just went and watched. Like
the little nuances, like the horror, like sound effects and the pianos and the like
those screeching high pitched noises and things. Just really,
like this movie is violent. Like this movie is, but like I loved it. Like,
well, because it lends itself to the story. As if you do it tactfully, it doesn't have to be blood and guts, and it doesn't have to be, all in your face because they know what they're trying to sell. But by the same token, there's always been an element to that in horror films or in dark toned shows, that a lot of it can also be suggested. It can be suggested scary. Like, you don't have to show me the axe murderer, for me to think. It's almost scarier to think the axe murderer is there, or those kinds of things. I always appreciate that more than just showing me. And I actually thought Sam Raimi knocked that element out of the park with that dark tone, bringing his Evil Dead elements into it, bringing his Spider-Man elements into it, and making like a freaking crescendo moment for himself. Nailed it. Yeah. Nailed it.
It really, really, and just like when she comes out of the glass and she's all like, contorted,
she's like Pennywise.
Like I'm talking about. Yes.
It's really it really
I love that they went there. I love that they went there. Like the point I'm trying to make with the comparison to Moon Knight is like, this was not that I thought Moon Knight was going to be horror, but like,
no, but it was
this is what I call like going for it, and they went for it, which I really appreciated.
Me too.
Obviously, because she's so scary, and we know that America Chavez cannot control her powers, and it only works when she gets scared. She opens a portal and transports both her and Doctor Strange to Earth 838, where they are subsequently captured by Baron Mordo, who is once again played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, and brought.
I love him.
Yo, he's fantastic. He
adds such an element to every movie he's in, and his role wasn't even
classy.
That's what I mean. He adds a level of class. Every movie I see him in, I'm like, God damn, this is just like you just added like 2 marks on top of whatever your score would have been just because you're in this.
So the two of them are captured in 838 and taken to the Illuminati headquarters, where we see that 838's version of Christine Palmer is working for the Illuminati as a scientist. Christine Palmer is played by the returning Rachel McAdams. The only little bit of teaser I had about Kelly's opinion of this movie was her opinion on some of the dialogue that Rachel McAdams was given throughout this film.
Poor Rachel. We'll talk about it near the end.
Hold on. No, we gotta talk about it now.
Yeah, talk about it now.
What's the one line she had where
back to hell.
I can't think.
Go back to hell.
Go back to hell. But that was very Sam Raimi.
Yes.
That was very Evil Dead.
Yes. And even when and we're jumping ahead to the end here, but even when he's like, I'm sorry, nerds, I don't know what they're actually called, but the weird demon-y monsters that are kind of fighting against Zombie Strange. Yeah. And then she sort of like looks at him and gives him like the try harder pep talk. Like that was also
hard. that was a little hard swallow.
That was hard. But
you gotta tip your cap to her for just trying her best.
Oh, I love her. And I actually like there's part of me that wishes she that an actress of her caliber was used in a meatier role in the MCU. But like bad dialogue is bad dialogue, and I think she did her best.
But it's also comic booky. It's comic booky. She's doing what she's doing. Like I didn't hate it. It's not like, listen, it's not like an Oscar Best Picture drama of the year sort of dialogue.
I was doing the secondhand embarrassment, like, oh god, no, like
I didn't hate it. It's fun, whatever. But you're right, Rob. She did I actually think she did a bang up job, like, because that could come off so much worse.
And listen, even with the cheesy dialogue, they did get over, because like Doctor Strange's sort of development in this movie is through Christine Palmer, and how like he's in love with her, but he can't be with her, and it's sort of the price that you pay to be a superhero, and the two of them and their dynamic together really do get that over, and like they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, I believe the two of them. Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into it. Doctor Strange is then brought before the Illuminati, which we talked all about the Illuminati leading into this, who would be a part of it. And it consists of Captain Carter, played by Haley Atwell, Captain Marvel, who on 838 is actually Maria Rambeau, Black Bolt, aka Blackagar Boltagon. I bursted out loud at that.
I can't believe you just even were able to say it so cleanly. Good for you.
Even makes fun of it in the movie. He's like, guy's got a fork on his head. And it's like Blackagar Boltagon, who is played by Anson Mount, who played Black Bolt on the Inhumans TV series.
Yep.
Yes, he did. Like, I actually looked that up. Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because no one watched Inhumans. We had to look it up.
Exactly. Then, my friends, John Mother effing Krasinski is revealed as Reed Richards. A pop moment for me, Kelly. I know a pop moment for you.
Yeah.
Man, I was like, nice. Like, this is like the fans willed this casting into existence.
Good for Disney, just first of all.
Well, and this is, I was going to say this at the beginning, but I didn't want to get ahead of ourselves here. But like, this is where I have no time. Like, listen, there are good Marvel movies and not so good Marvel movies, and not everything is perfect. But just get out of here with your negativity when you have a studio that is so willing to give the fans what they want. Like, you do not need to watch these movies through the same lens in which you're watching
Downton Abbey.
Like, whatever. Like, just go in and go, like, these movies are for fans and for geeks and for nerds. And like, that is what that reveal was. And also major props to them, because while we talked about possibilities of cameos and who might be in it, Mr. Fantastic was thrown around, but not John Krasinski.
No.
I'm forgetting the actor's name, but the guy who played him in the original, like,
and Miles Teller,
the mid-odds,
Teller as well, potentially.
Yeah, like they were throwing around like the people that we've already seen. So the fact that they kept this under wraps, we didn't have a leaked photo of John Krasinski.
We didn't.
Huge.
We didn't have a leaked photo, but I do remember on another previous episode, somebody got wind that he was on set one day, and I did bring it up, but that was it.
Yeah,
that was it, and that was still just so like.
Speaking of leaked photos, fans have been like doing nerd renderings or drawings or concepts of him as Reed Richards looking exactly like he does in the movie.
Oh, they crushed.
Like,
they did the work. They did the work for them. They should have been paid.
I know.
They should have been paid.
Yeah.
I know.
So fun. So fun.
Yes. Love that. But there's a reason I saved this next one for last.
Oh, that was the moment for me. As much as
Danny Elfman just came in big in that
Danny
moment.
yeah, guy gets it.
Yeah,
guy gets it.
And he's in the yellow wheelchair, like card, whatever you want to call it. Like, I was just like everything about what they're doing now. The storytelling is getting a little harder to follow, like, for sure.
Yeah, it's getting a little wild.
And they're getting a little wild. Like, so people who didn't love this movie or have issues with this movie, I'm not saying that you don't have a leg to stand on, but like, come on. Like, look what they did. Like,
well, listen, I'll say this only because I want to give some justification to some of the things that I was also hearing, and they were some of my gripes as well. Was that it was like, that's it? Like that, what is that? Does that mean that's the end of John? Does that mean like we're going to get more John? But like we're going to get, so this is the thing. Hold on. Yeah, this is the thing.
Hold on.
Wait. So this is my thing. Part of me really wants to get on board with the fact that, because again, anybody that's in X universe still looks like Y universe. So you would be led to believe that isn't the end of John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. But that being said, are also like that. But then that's our first inkling of Mr. Fantastic.
Thank you.
He gets his ass kicked before we even really get to.
In fairness, they all do, and they were just the point was to get over Wanda as being this like insurmountable villain, and which they do in an extremely violent way.
But that's what I'm saying. But to the detriment of all those other characters, I'm a little like.
Honestly, Brad, I think you have an opportunity. Sorry, Kelly. I think they have an opportunity. But I don't want to get too far into this because we could do a whole separate podcast.
But I need to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Like we should.
Go ahead.
Because like I'm with Brad here, where it's like I hear what you're saying, Rod, that they wanted to get Wanda over, and they wanted, and like all of the characters suffered the same fate in different ways. They all had different Mortal Kombat fatalities. But what is unique about the John Krasinski casting is at least we've seen all of those other characters before. Like,
exactly.
Like, so you can accept that this is like that version, a different world version, but we've seen them live their, the way that we sort of want them to be in another world and whatever. It's like, it just feels bizarre that that's my only gripe. Was I so excited to have this cameo? Absolutely. Was it a little bizarre to have the first time we ever see Reed Richards, and 12 seconds later, not only does he get so brutally murdered, but he also like reveals like he's the smartest man in the world, and he's like, Black Bolt here can like he basically tells Wanda how to murder Black Bolt.
yeah. No, like actually.
Yeah.
So, there were so many things like that I was like, what are you doing?
So there's two things here. One, yes, the writing and the handling of the dialogue through this entire movie is spotty at best, but and also in this particular part. Now, if you're talking about John Krasinski and his future, two things. One, there'll be riots in the streets if that's the only appearance we see of John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. Two, I think when Marvel does its Fantastic Four movie, we're getting the full-on origin story of like them in the spaceship and blah, blah, blah. So 616's Reed Richards is not yet Mr. Fantastic. And by that point, they're probably just going to hope that that's 2 years from now and everyone will have, that won't be fresh in your mind. And we're going to tell a brand new story with this version of Reed Richards. So don't worry about what happened in Multiverse of Madness 2 years ago. That's my theory.
I do also, to be my own devil's advocate here, I do think they established that like this group of Earth 8, give me the number, 838, they're a little flawed. Like all of them, they're like Wanda's coming in, like whatever, we'll deal with it.
Well, you also know that even Doctor Strange was killed in that universe as well.
Like so I can go there. Listen, I want to see John Krasinski again. Like
that's my point.
Very clear.
Yes.
But it was a little bizarre, but also it was my favorite like moment pop of the movie. So I'm very conflicted on that whole thing.
Yeah.
So we should mention that Wanda uses the Darkhold to dreamwalk. Love that term. Into
the Darkhold is also just a great like.
Yes,
there was a lot of terminology throughout this that I was into.
Yes. To take over the Wanda in 838, and this is when she gets like the. It's not blood. It's like I
think it's supposed to be like the oil,
from like the Ultron bots, which they like.
But it's supposed to like elicit the blood of whatever.
She proceeds to brutally murder all members of the Illuminati. None more disturbing than Charles Xavier when she literally comes through the red smoke and snaps his neck. And you're just like, whoa! Like I was in the theater and I was like, because she like pops out in a scary manner and it's just full Sam Raimi horror vibes. And she just snaps his neck. And you're just like, man.
Yeah, I absolutely love that whole sequence, that whole dream sequence where he was trying to get her out of that little bunker cave thing. Yeah, and you even hear like the kind of World War II era like that. So that just elevated the whole scene as well. But it also gave me like those OG Matrix vibes. Remember when they would like go into like that like kind of, I don't know, home screen of the Matrix, or it was just
even the Black Bolt. Even the Black Bolt no mouth thing is
a Matrix.
Oh, you're right. Yes. Yeah, great call. Hey, Kelly, very good. I didn't even make that connection.
His name is Blackagar Boltagon. Okay.
You say his name right.
Yeah, you say his name right.
Blackagar Boltagon. Am I saying it right?
Yeah. So basically, like, just quickly, like the Illuminati's issues with Strange is the Strange in 838 who is clean shaven. Helped destroy Thanos, which I thought it was so cool. I just love Thanos. I thought even just seeing the scene of him like laying back dead there was just seeing him was like so
on
awesome.
His home
and then,
planet,
they're on Titan.
Yes, and then he got possessed by this version of Strange, got possessed by the Darkhold, and they had to murder him through Blackagar Boltagon's mouth. And this is why they're skeptical of anyone named Stephen Strange. So as I said, Wanda brutally murders the Illuminati, and Strange and Christine Palmer end up in the space between. And my friends, up until this point, there were moments in this movie that were spotty at best, but I was having fun, so I was able to let it go.
Yep.
as soon as we got into the space between, this is where this movie went completely off the rails for me. Whether it be the music note fight between Strange
that was an odd choice.
Yes,
that was
Strange
an odd
and his counterpart Strange, who is also possessed by this version of the Darkhold. As we said earlier, Christine Palmer saying
go back to hell.
But guys, without question, I can't remember the last time I laughed out loud at something in a movie because I thought it was so terrible. Strange dream walking into his dead Defender Strange body back on 616 and becoming zombie Strange. And it just looked,
you know what?
Absolutely ridiculous.
It was very sad. But again, like I always think like I throughout the entire movie, I kept having moments of like, but then I'd also be like, oh, that's awesome. Or I'd be like, oh, that's awesome. And then I'd be like, was that too much? And then like, so it was this kind of like ongoing thing where it's like, I kept thinking to myself, if I was in my like, you know, dial this all the way back to like the mid to late 90s, we're in our teens and stuff. If I was seeing that, fully bought in. I don't think I would have just been like, oh, it's cool. But like, I don't know if it's just because we're a little bit older now or whatever. It was just having these like conflicting moments of like, is this cool because it lends itself to the story? And it's just actually part of like, you know, little things and like little tidbits of you know, things that we've gotten from other comic book arcs. And so it's like, a little Easter egg here, a little Easter egg there. Or are we just doing things for the sake of doing things? Because that is also something we very much accuse other directors of, and just being like heavy-handed with action and heavy-handed with effects. And so I was very, very conflicted in those moments of whether I should be feeling excited about this or if this is stupid.
So I'm in agreement of the moment in which the movie sort of gets a little out of control. The music fight really lost me. Mm-hmm. And then I sort of thought, okay, the zombie like concept, I actually thought, oh, they're going to go for this. Like they're going to go for Marvel zombies and they're going to go for full like Doctor Strange, Sam Raimi, like just insanity. And chaos. There was part of me that really respected the creative choice where it did
that's what I'm saying.
Work.
Yeah,
where it did not work was you've got Stephen Strange with his jaw, like his skull broken up and going, you have to believe in yourself. Like, and it's like, and he looks
but that's the thing. Out loud. Kelly, I laughed out loud in the theater.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
It with what needed to occur in that scene in terms of him like getting through to America Chavez and him being in that form did not work. So it's like,
was it supposed to be that way? That's my thing. That's why I'm questioning, because that is his style. It's this kind of like,
well, maybe
theater of the absurd, where it's like, it's so absurd, but like what they're saying also doesn't match, but that's the point. And it's kind of like, I don't know. It was hard to take in.
I would have been, it's not the zombie decision that made me uncomfortable. It was what needed to be accomplished while he was a zombie. Like, I wish we were a zombie at a different point in the movie. Yeah. I wish the music fight, he was a zombie. Like, just do it somewhere else.
No, that would have been way too much there.
Sure. Okay.
Can you imagine the zombie on top of the music notes? I'd have been like,
okay, this is an acid trip.
Yeah, did I take something? Did I get something?
I liked the idea. It just got it, and I don't know. Just
you're right, Kelly. He's trying to deliver these heartfelt lines to America Chavez, and he's like, "I'm not gonna take your power. Yeah, it has to be you." And it's like, I can't.
Yeah,
take
I don't know what's happening here.
There was I would really love to know where the reshoots in this movie took place. I would really love to know that, because
we will never
know.
Kevin
Feige
never know. Yeah.
Kevin Feige will kill you if you find out.
Because the third act, like, not only was like the zombie thing a little much, the music note thing was a little much. Then all of a sudden, like, how do you And this is ripped straight from the comics, but it's like, how do I know who you are? Well, I have a sister named Donna and she fell through and it's like, what was supposed to be this like heartbreaking revelation about this character just was like,
it was lost in all the chaos.
Like it just like didn't land at all. Like
I totally agree.
They just all of a sudden started like,
and then
it would have been different if maybe at the beginning of the movie when Christine was asking him if he was happy, like he said something to the effect of like, well, I've never been happy since that day, or like just something to sort of like
at least
that up.
Yeah, set the table for that like more detailed explanation. The
it was just like, oh, okay. And then they're like, let's have a music
know
fight.
That.
Yeah. That's exactly what the reaction was. It was kind of like, oh,
okay.
This is a heavy thing to be telling an alternate universe.
That's why you were
yourself.
kind of mean before. Like it's just like it was so.
Yeah, and then you're not allowed to dream walk into a dead body, so he starts getting attacked by these like ghost things, and then that's when Christine Palmer gives him the locker room speech to like get through this, and then they become like the zombie version of his cloak a little bit.
But
and
also,
like,
can I just say, just to kind of set this whole part of our discussion up, what was the reasoning behind him asking her to protect his body? With what?
I know.
With what? Like I kept thinking, like she's just a normal person in this universe as well. Why are you asking her to protect? With what? And then she gets her ass kicked by a demon,
light,
and it's
like a light bucket. Like she had like a bucket. Yeah, like it's just like I don't really. I think we could have.
Light bucket. Oh shit!
I think we probably could have cut the music fight.
Oh my
we
God.
could have cut the fucking ghosty demons.
That thing is forever known to me as a light bucket.
The light bucket.
Oh shit!
And then delivers the go back to hell line as she fires her light bucket. That's
oh my God! Thank God that light bucket was there.
Yeah.
Oh my God! That's what I'm saying. Like there were so many cool moments. Like I didn't even care because it wasn't taking itself too seriously. But at the same time, there were moments where you're just like, okay. Like, she just is like, with her elbow and busts out a light bucket and just kicking ass. Go back to hell. What? Okay.
I know. Oh my God.
Oh,
so
God.
Basically, like the movie essentially, like they defeat Wanda by America learning how to harness her powers after the pep talk from Zombie Strange. And she shows Billy and Tommy the Scarlet Witch version of Wanda, and they freak out and get scared, and this makes Wanda really upset and sort of
I liked that.
That was such a great scene.
Yes.
That was such a great scene because everybody, it's one of those great kind of payoff moments. Like we just said, like that is what that moment should have been with Doctor Strange, kind of revealing that thing about his little sister dying or whatever. This was that, or what that should have been also, because there was so much setup for that. And, everybody kept saying like, well, what's going to happen to the alternate universe version of Wanda if you go there and you take those kids? And she wouldn't listen. And then she goes there thinking this is her great moment of like, she's finally done what she set out to do. And to kind of have that really emotional moment where the kids were genuinely scared and they just watched their real mom get her ass kicked. It's like, what the hell do you think was going to happen? But again, it's like she was just so deep down consumed and down the rabbit hole with all of this emotion. It was such a great payoff.
And I liked that it just kind of reminded us of like the humanity that does like exist within the character that we've known throughout the MCU. It's like, she's turned evil because of the Darkhold and all that stuff. But it was just, I liked that she sort of defeated herself in a sense, like with America Chavez's help. By actually just kind of realizing like
that really got that character over for me.
Yes.
I thought we were going to get, we've joked about this before, but the big dragon on dragon violence kind of stuff where it's just like out of nowhere, like, experience your powers. Cause there was a lot of alluding to that. And I was like, oh God, here we go. And then it was like, no, that was such an interesting twist for that character to be like, I can't beat you, can I? Yeah. But I can do this instead. I'll give you what you want. That was such a smart move.
It was.
Got that character off so much. Like I was already liking the character by that point, but that really kind of like awesome. Love that character now.
So that's essentially where the movie ends. Like, and he goes back to rebuilding Comertage. He sees Wong, and America Chavez is training to become a wizard, and he returns to the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York. And the film ends with him developing his third eye, which he gets as a result of messing around with the Darkhold and dreamwalking into a dead body. Mm-hmm. Which then brings us to the mid-credits scene where we get Clea, played by Charlize Theron, who, unless you're a geek like me and go off reading a bunch of stuff, you'd never know that this is a character named Clea.
I got to be honest with you, and I'm going to throw shade on this right away. That was probably the biggest blah moment of the whole thing for me. I'm also just getting kind of like, again, Disney, Marvel, like all the time. I'm always like home runs and whatever, but I'm getting a little, and I don't know if, again, we've talked about this at length as far as like, some superhero fatigue, some, a little bit of oversaturation, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like every Marvel movie now, we're getting like a new celebrity reveal as a new character. And it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm getting a little like sick of that.
No, it's definitely a conversation worth having. Like, yeah, because I understand what you're saying. Like you get the Harry Styles thing at the end of Eternals.
It's exactly what my thought too.
Yeah, you get this, and we are entering this new world of the MCU where it's like we don't quite know. I think part of the issue too, Brad, is like we don't know where it's going. Like we always knew in the first 2 phases that we're getting to the next Avengers, and like how is this new character going to play into the next Avengers? Whereas here it's like we don't know that, and like she basically shows up and says to Strange that his dream walking has triggered an incursion, and she opens cuts a hole in the fabric of reality to reveal what's it called? Where Dormammu, the Dark Dimension, where Dormammu, who was the villain in the first Strange movie, sort of resides. And I later, through my usual nerd vacuum that I do, learn that Clea in the comics is the niece of Dormammu, and she and Strange actually end up being married in certain versions of the comics. So, I think.
She's got a big tie to Secret Wars.
So I think we're headed for two huge payoffs here. We're headed towards, there's definitely going to be some sort of Young Avengers. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being a show. Personally, the Young Avengers.
I could see
that.
And
then the movie culmination will be Secret. I think we've known for a while that the next obvious thing they're going to do is with Kang as the big bad, and it'll be Secret Wars, and it'll be the sort of new age Avengers.
I know. If anything, like just to like put also like a little pin into this part was the fact that it's like, if anything, it's like, I know these characters matter. I want to know that these characters are there. Like this is an important part of like the arc of how you get there, blah, blah, blah. But it's also just a little like, if you're going to do those kind of reveals still, give us Wolverine. Give us do you know what I mean? Like, I don't need a big mid-credit like, whoa, of a character like that.
Here's Clea.
But also like, not to go down like a weird tangent, but also like, I would love to see some of these, like Kang was not an unknown actor, but like, as far as he's not like a Charlize Theron or a Harry Styles, I would love to see some of these other characters that have a lot of significance in this world. It doesn't, in my mind, have to be a big celebrity, and that is no shade against Charlize Theron. She's a freaking Oscar winner, for God's sake. But the whole thing is that it's just like, I don't know. It's just like that part of it, that part of the whole.
So
Marvel
you think it's
world
coming off
gimmicky.
a bit try hard and gimmicky? It's
coming off as more gimmicky than even try hard. It's just a little like, you guys do this every time now. Like,
I don't disagree.
A little like, meh.
I don't disagree. I like, it's funny because sometimes I think it's sometimes I enjoy when we get like a really high caliber actor in a more like bit part. Like I thought like the casting of Glenn Close was pretty inspired, and it's like, and she's playing like a nobody in Guardians of the Galaxy.
In Guardians,
right? So like that's fun because then
or like Michelle Pfeiffer in Ant-Man.
Any of these roles. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's not that I'm like being like anti like movie star or anything like that. I mean, but it's just the fact that Marvel is already so, I don't want to use the word littered, but full of like a lot of stars, and a lot of other stars are taking these smaller roles that I would just love to see some of these kind of character actors take some of these roles and kind of give us maybe a little bit more balance. Like I said, it's just starting to come off a little bit gimmicky, a little bit try hard, a little bit like every actor in Hollywood now is like getting like cramming onto this Marvel ship. So I'm kind of like,
Brad, I think you want to bring this conversation full circle. I think this might speak to what we've been talking about with the way the movie industry is going.
Well, that's why I'm saying
people into theaters. And I think like, like you're getting actors. Like there was a time where Christian Bale wouldn't be caught dead doing a Marvel movie.
Oh yeah.
And like, I'm not saying Christian Bale is doing this solely for the money, but it doesn't hurt. Like I'm sure he really wants to work with Taika Waititi and like all that kind of stuff.
It's fun to do these kinds of movies.
Yes.
And listen, if like for instance, who was it? Called Kevin Feige on the phone. Oh, for Blade. Mahershala Ali.
Thank you.
Like if a big actor calls Kevin Feige and says, "I want to be a part of this. Give me something." Obviously Mahershala Ali's was a little bit more specific, but like if like say Charlize says like, "You got anything for me?" He's gonna cast you. Like he's gonna put you in something. Like so, I'm thinking at this point too, it is becoming more of like a everybody kind of wants to on this ship, and he's not gonna say no because all these actors are fantastic, and it's like. But like I said, it's just becoming like almost a little oversaturated in that sense of like every even kind of like mid-level role is a big celebrity.
Oversaturated, and also like my main issue with it is what I said earlier is it's like it doesn't like I don't leave like we used to get cameos at the end of the movies and we would be like, oh my god, we're
exactly
right, and it's like the Harry Styles one at the end of Eternals, it was kind of like flat, flat. And then this one too, it's like. Clea is a C to D list Marvel character. We have no idea who she is. The only people who know who she is are like the Doctor Strange super fans. Mm-hmm. And like, sure, she cuts open the fabric of reality and we see the dark dimension, but it's like Doctor Strange 1 was in 2016. Like how many people are sitting there going, oh, that's the dark dimension. Like
that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
But I think kind of like to Brad's point, I think before I don't know where the line of demarcation is, but let's say Endgame. Mm-hmm. Pre-Endgame, post-credits and mid-credits scenes were to tease like the story in the comic book arc, and now to tease the actors that they've managed to land.
Correct.
Like that's really that's really what the difference is, because like your average like mom, like boomer mom who's always just going, oh, I like that Charlize. She's great. And so instead of us getting a look at the Infinity Gauntlet or something where we're all going, oh shit, like we're heading towards X, it's just like, oh, we're gonna see Charlize at a certain point.
And that's what I mean. Yeah, so it's like that's a perfect way of putting it to Kelly, is the fact that it's like it's not that it's not setting something up, but it's not really doing what it was before, which is really kind of alluding to the next chapter, really alluding to what we're going to get. This is just like, look who's here.
Yeah.
I'm here now.
Beside me in the movie theater literally said out loud, those were the post-credit scenes.
Oh, the last one was so silly. As much as I love him,
I don't even want to bother talking about it. I'm not even going to
bother.
That's a Sam
funny.
Raimi.
It was Sam
Raimi.
Yes.
Like,
it's a Sam Raimi staple, but it's like,
and he's doing his
he's
doing his callback to
of all these new age. We've got a few minutes left here, so I want to talk about this. Of all these new age post credit scenes, the one that got me the most excited was it the second one in Eternals, teasing Black Knight with the Blade voice?
No, that was the first one. I thought that was the mid. Was that the mid?
No, I think that was the end. The mid was the Harry Styles one.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yes.
You're right.
Yes.
Yeah,
see, I preferred the one in Shang-Chi when they see Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel together and stuff like that. That at least felt, to your point, like that felt like, oh, okay, so now this is how Shang-Chi's going to get hooked up to be a part of the next thing.
Exactly.
Right?
That
and they
made
didn't
sense.
And so it's like, it did have a cameo, but it had a cameo of established people in this universe.
And it's
so
establishing the team again. Like it's kind of setting up that Avengers Secret Wars.
Blah, and that's why I like the Kit Harington Black Knight one, is because it's like it's teasing a new character. Yes. You hear Blade's voice in the background, so you're kind of like, oh shit, where's this going? Yeah. Right? So it's like those. So they haven't all been bad, but yes, Brad, the two that stand out are the Harry Styles reveal and the Charlize Theron reveal, because you're right, it's so on the nose of like, look who we got to play this character.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's just not helping anything. And it's like I said, there's there is some truth to what people are saying as far as like some superhero fatigue. As much as we love them, that doesn't mean, you know, every director that hasn't made one gets to come out and, you know, bitch and complain every 5 seconds. But you know, there are truths to some of these kind of like things, and I just think they must know at studios like Disney and Warner Brothers and whatever, the ones that are really heavy hand, Sony, I guess, that are really doing these superhero movies, that, you know, that is a conversation right now, that it's getting a little like a bit much for some people. And then when you're doing things like that, I just don't think that's helping the situation by you're just kind of like feeding into this like, oh, everyone is now doing it, and now Charlize Theron is just like, hey, here you go, and it's like, okay.
But here I would argue in one part about that.
Yeah,
I think you're appealing. I saw this movie with my brother, my mom, and my stepdad. Both my mom and my stepdad turned and went, "Is that Charlize Theron?" Like that's who that's for, right? Like, so they're like, "Oh my, now Charlize Theron is in this." So like, well, we're super nerds. We are in this. We're in this every day. We know what's going on. So we interpret it like that and are like, well, this is kind of getting away from what made this so good. The GA, they're just like, oh, fun. Can't wait to come back and see Charlize Theron as Clea. That's who they're going for. And that's why
I said I'm not
$450 million opening weekends.
Yeah. And that's why I always, you know, at certain points, you know, I don't want to say we're grasping at straws, because it's not. I think there's genuine, like, you know, gripes and things like that. But you know, there's definitely moments like that even get me a little kind of like, okay. But like, to your point. So again, I still think there's actually lots of room for conversation, and there's nuanced conversation to even have within a very successful, it's more than a franchise at this point, universe that they've built over at Disney with all these Marvel movies, that some will land better for, you know, some people. And, you know, these ones over here work for you. These ones over here work for you. These moments work. These ones didn't. And this one does still have its own vibe, which I actually really appreciated. And that was one of my big takeaways too, was this did have its own standalone feeling to it, where it didn't seem like any of the other ones.
One thing, and I touched on this a few minutes ago, we still don't really know where this is all going. Like, we don't know, like, we know that we've got a bunch more movies coming out. Like, we've got Ant-Man, Quantumania, which is going to have Kang in it. We've got Thor, Love and Thunder. We've got Fantastic Four. They're going to make a whole new Wakanda Forever. They're going to make a whole new trilogy with Tom Holland. Like, right? It's so they are, but there still isn't like I said, the first little while there were seeds, and you're like, this is all heading in this direction. And we're right now, it's kind of like, I don't know how Doctor Strange is going to get hooked up with Shang-Chi. I don't know how Moon Knight is going to play into all of this. I don't know how even the new Captain America is going to play into all this. I don't know how, right? It's like, we're still waiting for that sort of through line that we haven't really been able to see yet.
Yeah. And it seems like what they did, like, again, it's not fair, and it's not that they have to do the exact same thing over again. I think we'd all be disappointed if they did. But you know, what they did with those, you know, OG, you know, Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, blah blah blah. What they did with that seemed like a much shorter track to get to where they were with the first Avengers movie. This seems like we are getting, you know, this show, that show, this show, that show, this movie, that movie, this movie, that movie. So there seems like there's almost already like twice, or if not maybe even 3 times as much lifting this time around. And I'm wondering if that's being done purposefully, because we are getting into sort of like, the deeper catalogs of Marvel characters and things like that, that people maybe aren't just going to accept, again, general audience, whatever, just accept a lot of these characters because they're just not as well known. So there's maybe more heavy lifting that needs to be done this time around.
Mhm.
But that also being said, a note that I did have, or a takeaway I did have from this movie, was we did harp on that a lot, especially when we heard about reshoots for this movie, that it was like, well, there's a lot of heavy lifting that we think is going to be done in this movie. And I really didn't find that there was. I didn't find that there.
I didn't think there was.
We got a lot of like really, really cool, interesting moments within, the multiverse and those transitions between them and everything else. There was a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of more alluding to things than really being like, this is setting up this, holy shit, this means this, full culmination moment, and then this is kind of like the launching point. I just felt like this was another chapter that we're still kind of like, we've added more question marks and characters than answers.
I just think, at the end of the day, like, Marvel Studios is owned by Disney, and they earned their audience, like, throughout the journey of getting to Endgame. Like, everybody is bought in, everybody is, and so like they're kind of like diversifying their earnings a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a little something for you, a little something for you, a little something for you. I wouldn't even be surprised. Like, this is a really out of the box idea, but they could do something like this. I'm not saying that they necessarily will, but like, you could technically release like a Secret Wars movie focusing on, the ones that I would say are like the heavy hitters, and have a concurrently running Young Avengers TV show of what's going on on the ground level. Like,
it's true.
That's,
and also,
we've said that a few times.
Wild this could get.
And I'm sitting here talking about a through line. Like, there might not even be one. Like, the Secret Wars comic is exactly that, a secret war that takes place sort of off world. So like, these characters don't all have to meet each other. It's like they all just get teleported to wherever it's going on and they meet each other there. Like, it doesn't have to be this sort of like, Doctor Strange doesn't have to meet Moon Knight ahead of Secret Wars.
Yeah.
No, but I think the one place where they've got to figure it out a little bit is what made that first group of characters work was like the relationship between Tony and Steve, and the relationship between Tony and Peter Parker.
Exactly, because that emotional through line is so important.
And so that's where I think they're going to have to, like, that's the piece that wherever we're headed to, which I'm fine to wait a while to get there, but we need to start creating a little bit more connection between these characters so that when we arrive at that point, there's stakes that we all care about.
Well, it's exactly what you said. It's the same thing as the moment with Doctor Strange where he reveals the thing about his sister, and what we got with Wanda at the end, where there's that. This always alludes to writing. It always comes down to writing and planning,
and putting in
whatever.
the work.
Putting in the work and not just resting your laurels on what you've done in the past. And I would never at this point, because there's no reason to, think that, Disney or Marvel is trying to rest on their laurels. I just hope that's not happening. That's just a hope, because there's just so much, there's been so much brilliant work done, and bringing up, Steve Rogers and Tony Stark's relationship is so, and that being so crucial. So when it came to Civil War and, all of those extra things that we got after, it makes it. That's what makes it. It's always going to be the emotional connection that you have with these characters and what the characters have with each other. The action is great. This, these big battles and things like that are always great. But if there's no underlying emotional crux, then you tend to lose people. Yeah. You will always lose me as a viewer when you don't do that. And they're not there yet at all. I just hope that they continue to sort of build these. And like you said, Kelly, that's a great point. We said that about the TV shows as well. It's going to continue. So it's not even fair. Like, it's always easier to look at it as a whole picture than what we have right now. So yeah, I think it just remains to be seen at this point, and I hope they keep moving in that direction.
Lastly, before we get out of here, this movie Multiverse of Madness earned a B+ cinema score. I think that is spot on rating. That's exactly what I would have given it. I actually learned that is the second lowest cinema score that Marvel has gotten. The lowest the lowest belongs to Eternals, which is a straight B. And deserved. And this is a B+.
Yeah. I think a B+, but everybody thinks that if it's not an A+, it's like some sort of like slight. A B+ is a real. I would have killed for B+.
Dude, oh my god! I used to bring B+ home to my mom and be like, "Check this out.
Look at that! This thing's going up on the fridge." Yeah,
I think a B+ is spot on. I think where there's a flaw in the system is there are other movies that should be. Like Thor: The Dark World is not above this movie.
That's what I'm kind of like, really.
Whatever. I do think to all the things we've talked about, like I think the Marvel fatigue and the superhero fatigue is real, and I think people are.
Is it though, Kelly? Is it? It just earned $450 million.
Well, but also to our point that we said at the beginning of the. But no. But even, what's the alternative? What movie are you going to go see that's not this movie? Like, there's it's not out yet, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I see what you're saying. I was like,
you want to go to the movies? This is it. This is the option. Like, so I think when I say superhero fatigue, I think it's that people, before it was almost like, you're talking badly about Marvel? Like, how dare you? Whereas I think people are a little more ballsy to point out the flaws of Marvel now, which I think is fair. They've always had flaws.
But you know what? That is also a sign of what they've done. If this was, you know, I don't want to pick on anybody, but whatever. So I'll just say this. If this was, you know, another franchise that really wasn't hitting the
Venom,
mark,
Let There Be Carnage.
Sure. You know, like I said before about like no news, or sorry, like, what's that old saying about like you know, even like bad press is good press for movies and celebrities and things like that. So I think that's I think that they've created this you know, genre now where it's like it is self-sustaining at this point. Like they don't even need to really promote it as much. And the fact that anybody's like, we're doing it right now, the fact that we're even having discussions and bringing up parts that maybe we don't like, and then bringing up other parts that we really liked and all that kind of stuff, that is the sign of that you've done something important. You've done something that's lasting, and you're doing something that means something to people. Because if we didn't care, we wouldn't talk about it. And you know, read all about it. That's not the first time we've just skipped the odd one, because it's like, I don't like, who is this for?
And they've, like, if you really want to look at like the box office number, it's like, I'm sure I don't think everyone walked out of that movie like, wow, that was amazing. Like, I think a lot of people were like us, where it was like, oh, that was fine. But
or whatever,
Marvel's audience is so big, and so many people are invested in what happens next.
You have to now. We're addicted.
Yes. It's like you have to go see it.
You have to.
There will not be a movie in MCU canon that I'm not going to the theater to see. That's just that's just facts.
And I said the same thing to, you know, anybody that'll listen that hasn't really gotten on board with Marvel stuff, that it's like, it's not too late. It's going to take you a solid couple months to catch up, but if not a few, I'd be interested to know how many hours in totality everything is now. Yeah, you're going to need some time off work. But but at the end of the day, that is what it boils down to. That's why TV shows that really get into the zeitgeist do so well, because once you buy in, you have to know. Mm-hmm. You have to know how it continues, unless, you know, it's one of these shows that just goes way off the rails and loses everybody. But this is very much like that. It's very much like a television show at that point, that, you know, you might think you're done. You might think it at times, but then you're kind of like, oh, but that looked cool. And that actually connects to that movie that I did like from before. So now I have to know what that is. And like what Kelly said, how many people watch this, maybe skipping WandaVision, that are now going to go back and watch it because now they need to know. I think they've set up a brilliant system.
I don't know if anybody skips anything with Marvel. People definitely skip things with Sony and DC, but the people, I don't know if anyone skips like this.
I think people know where we stand on this at this point because we've never really come out and said it, but we very, very much alluded to it a lot.
Yes. All right, guys. This is we're clocking in at an hour 10 here. This is about the length of our Batman review. But
enjoy.
What can I say, man? This is like we gotta sit, we gotta talk about these things.
Yes. The people gotta know.
So we'll be back. We'll be back next week. We've got some exciting things on the horizon. We've got Top Gun Maverick coming up. We've got Obi-Wan Kenobi coming up. We're going to be reviewing both of those. So stoked for both of those. So if you don't want to miss those, hit that like and subscribe button below. If you're listening to the audio version, hit that follow button up top. Leave a review. Help us out in the algorithm. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. Handles are above the screen. We'll see you guys next week.
We're desperate.
Bye.
Bye, guys.